What is Pest Talks?
What is Pest Talks?
What is Pest Talks?
It's where leaders from all corners of the pest control world
come together to have continuous conversations on trending topics.
Sure, our views may not all be the same,
but the passion that we have is what brings us all together.
Pest Talks is pest control, expertise, experience,
entertainment, social networking,
social media, and trending topics coupled with technology.
Listen in and join the conversation
from a pest management professional's perspective.
What's up, Pest Talks, and happy ETT week. Let's jump right into it. Should customers automatically be given top customer service, even if they are rude? How do you personally handle the worst of the worst? Ooh, this is a really good question, because you think about customer service and you think about what customer service is. Sometimes it's very difficult to give that top tiered customer service when you're dealing with a rude customer. But the customer service really isn't about one in particular customer being rude to you. It's about how you are being portrayed. How are you representing the company? So to me, even if a customer is rude to me, they're going to get the best of the best. They're going to get the best of the best because that's me. I'm the best of the best. And I'm not going to let whatever you got going on in your life, which makes you feel like you can be rude to me, dictate and alter the way that I give a customer service experience, period. Because I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do the best job regardless. You can be rude, you can be upset. A lot of the time when you're dealing with an upset customer, it's because they have a lack of understanding of what's actually going on. Obviously, you might have those one-offs where someone's just having a bad day and everybody has a bad day. And that's another thing. You can't really tell what somebody's going through. So yes, although a customer may be negative, although a customer may be rude to you, at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're staying true to you. Say for whatever reason, a customer calls you for service and they have a rodent issue, and you go out there, you do the first service, you put your all into the service, you do everything that you have to do, and you set a follow-up for yourself to go out. Now, you've only been at that account one time. You set everything up on the first service. You go out there for your follow-up, and now this customer is automatically mad at you because you didn't get rid of their mice on the first visit. Now, we all know within the industry, sometimes you're going to be able to get rid of something on the first visit, but a lot of times, if you want sustainable, long-term results, it's going to take some time. And a lot of times the customers, they think you have a quote-unquote magic bullet that's just going to go ahead and get rid of everything on the first service and the first time that you're out there. And most times it's not the case, right? It takes multiple services sometimes to get the results that you want to see, right? So you go out there for your second visit, and now you got a customer yelling at you, well, you didn't get rid of my mice, and you didn't do enough, and you didn't do this. And sometimes it's, sir or ma'am, you have to understand where I'm coming from here. You have to understand what the expectations of the service are. Anytime that you're in front of a customer, or anytime that you speak to a customer, you have to reset the expectations of the service. So the customer knows what to expect. All right, well, Dave was just here. Dave did A, B, and C, and I can expect A, B, and C. So that way that they're not calling back after they still see activity, or after you come back for a follow-up, they're not upset because they already know what's going on. There's a fine line between an upset customer and someone being rude to you, right? If somebody's straight up just disrespectful to you and they're cussing, wow, that's the first time I've said cussing in my life. If they're cursing, they're talking to you in a way that has nothing to do with your job, then that's a different story. But also, you need to remember not to meet them with that energy. Me personally, I'm gonna kill you with kindness. You see the smile? You see the smile? Right there, I'm gonna kill you with that. Because no matter how upset you're gonna get, I'm just gonna smile and say, understood. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of it the best way that I possibly can, and I'm gonna make sure that you have a great service. And you see how my voice got low like this? Sometimes you have to bring it down an octave and just have a conversation like this in a soft voice, because people feel comfortable with the soft voice. And it's like a nice warm feeling where you can have the conversation with them like this. But then you bring it back here, right, to bring your point around. A lot of the time too, the customer's always gonna blame you because you're the person that's out there representing the company that they're paying for to get rid of an issue that they may or may not have gone right now. So you're just going to be the person that's going to have to listen to that. But it's all how you handle those situations. The first thing I'm going to try to do is de-escalate the situation and figure out what is the root cause of you actually being upset and why are you acting this way. And then I'm going to listen to you, right? We listen, actively listen. I'm going to listen to you and figure out what it is that I can do to make sure that you don't feel that way anymore. So thank you, Lord, that I don't have to deal with the worst of the worst too often. From all the experience that I've had with it, it's all been due to a lack of understanding of a certain situation. But like I said, if I can leave you with something, don't let someone else's anger change your character, because your character is what you have to go home and sit with at the end of the night. So if you are naturally or try to be a good person, if you are naturally a funny person, if you're naturally a kind person, don't let someone change that character. Don't give them that power over you. Just go ahead, continue to be you, continue to do great things in the world, and continue to give a great customer service.
Customer service representatives should have a good line of communication as far as I'm concerned, and understanding, after all, they are the bridge between the two, whether it's the customer, the retailer, the seller, the buyer. So I definitely think that customer service should be at the forefront of an organization, because that, after all, sometimes is just the eyes and the ears that the potential client may have prior to doing a service or the business with someone. So definitely there's rigorous training and things like that that should go hand in hand with. So I definitely agree that that's something should be done. Yes, a rude customer should be given the same level of service. Their behavior is not a reflection of you. Maybe it's a reflection of themselves. I have killed a lot of people with kindness, turned their frowns upside down to smiles. Those customers are now giddy when they see me. I think it definitely takes perfect timing and the right tone and voice. Definitely think that you treat people how you want to be treated, not necessarily how they treat you. So I handle the worst of the worst by being the best of the best. I just be myself and maintain my level of professionalism and keep my composure. You know, I can't allow individuals maybe going through something, having a bad day. Maybe I remind them of someone that they, probably love to hate, couldn't say it to them, but I couldn't allow them to have that much influence on, what I have to do and what I got going on. And theoretically, what I always do, if that is a case, I always look at the clock and I kind of map it like, well, they only have about 30 more minutes of this nonsense to behave that way, or maybe an hour. Probably not, because in theory I feed the meter for about an hour. It takes me about 5 to get there, take about 15 to do the equipment, another 5 to do the paperwork. Probably got about 5 minutes to get it off, right? So go for it, have a good time, but after that you still got to live with yourself, if nothing else. But overall, I come out this uniform, meet me outside. I'm just playing.
I would say that David and Ash, you guys spoke well, about it, and it's not letting the customer ruin your day. General customer service is everything, because I think it's one of the things that makes any business that much better. We know the old saying, which is not an old saying, or it's an old saying, but it's a true saying, which is word of mouth is one of your best advertisers. And what happens is, if you're able to really treat somebody good and they have like the best experience with you, then in any industry, not just pest control, they're going to tend to call you back. And so a lot of the things that Noel and I have experienced is, even if we, make a mistake, or even if something doesn't go as planned on a job or whatever, our customer service, our over communication to the customer is something that's super important to us. Customers love that. We've gotten nothing but amazing feedback. We don't live by our reviews, but we do get amazing reviews. There are some customers that you just can't please whatsoever, but it is super important to us. Let's say sometimes when I'm feeling a certain type of way about a customer, no, I do not want to give them great customer service, but then my overall picture kicks in, how I believe, my spirit, I should say, kicks in. And when a customer is rude, I think one should just try to get to the bottom of why they're being rude. It's rare that somebody is being rude just because that's who they are. They could have had trauma from a last experience where they're super frustrated about trying to get something taken care of, and you just were in line of past companies that couldn't solve a problem, that were probably rude to them. And so you could be that difference maker. And I think if you look at yourself, again, not just in pest control, but just in general, like real estate and the financial deals, there's so many different industries, but customer service still is, how did I leave that last customer feeling? And then I think you can see yourself as a customer at times. Like, you know how you are as a customer when you don't get the best service. And then if you own your business, then you want to make sure that, okay, I can see how I feel a certain type of way if I didn't get customer service on something that I really wanted, needed, a product or service, and then it was that one person that really hooked you up and you're like, hey, could you get what's her name or what's his name on the phone, because they took care of me. Good customer service can even lead to long-lasting relationships that go way beyond business. As a relationship is a relationship, no matter how you meet the person. If it's supposed to be the relationship as a part of your life, it will manifest. So you just never know. It's not easy. I'm not gonna sit up here and try to act like it's easy. I mean, we've had a couple customers. We had a customer that just flat out lied. And there's certain protocols that we have where, again, me and Noel, we try to over communicate. And there's just certain customers where you try to give the best customer service, but they don't listen. And they don't listen at all. And you tell them 10 times and you put it in writing and you have them sign it for your own safety, CYA, right? And they still don't listen. And they will let you know that you're the worst. And they really didn't listen to the details. And we definitely had a customers, one of the customers that tend, or I should say in general, and you can go on record for saying this can be in this can be in the advertisement for this episode. Customers that are cheap. It's okay to try to get the best value for what you need to be done with a good price point. Sometimes you have to pay more, but you really want what you want done correctly. The customers, in my experience, that are cheap have been the worst customers because they tend to be driven by supreme selfishness. And we've encountered some customers that have been supremely selfish. I don't know why I'm making hand gestures like that, but they've been very selfish. I'm not holding anything against them. They have to live their life being that way. And they have to justify why they think it's okay to treat people like just because it's a business deal, and then go online and then say how they feel a certain type of way and then try to trash said companies. Don't be that, customers, ladies and gentlemen. If a company really dogged you out, that's fine. If a company didn't dog you out and you're frustrated and you're going to go make your voice be known online, that will come back to you, because that's horrible. Like, you're making somebody that has tried to put all of their dreams and desires in starting a business, and because they didn't meet your quota, not because you're a person that is been done wrong, and mistakes can be made, but if you are just a selfish, cheap customer, you make it hard, and you need to change the way that you do business with people, because you are the type of individual that needs grace, and you make it hard for people to do their business with joy. I'm just saying. So if you're that customer and you're listening to this episode, just know you need to not be that customer. That means you need to have a little more empathy and grace for businesses and find the right one that can take care of. So I had to just get that out, because there are some worst of the worst customers. And it's like, hey, you need my service or you need my industry services. So maybe you should rethink about how you deal and talk to people.
I think everything you do represents your reputation. It demonstrates who you are and what you stand for. So regardless of how customers respond, react, your customer service should remain top level, high quality, because you don't want to give anybody a chance to say anything negative about you. I think the first time is a benefit of doubt. Continue through with your customer service and make it great. But if you have level set with them and explain to them that this ain't how we treat customers that we work with and we don't appreciate that, and they're still doing that, cut ties. I think that's the best thing to do, because think about the impact of a bad customer. One, it has a negative impact on your teammates because it could push them closer to the edge of leaving you. Your employees may not respect you the same if they know you're bringing in crappy customers just to make $1. Now, how much of a cost is that going to be if you lose an employee? So you got to think about that. The morale of the team. This can negatively impact the morale of the team, keeping bad customers around. The overall energy and more stress to you. It creates more stress, especially if you're a smaller company and you're closely connected to the customer. So those are some things to think about. If there's a customer that's mistreating me or my teammates, we get rid of them. It just does not make sense to keep those people going. It tarnishes you, it tarnishes what you stand for, and it has a negative impact on your business.
What's going on, Pest Dog family? Great responses. Here's my take on it. A customer's behavior should never change the quality of your service. However, you have your standard operating procedure, your SOP. Based on your SOPs, whatever you have on there on the way that you treat your customer, whether it's for yourself or your team, it doesn't change because of the way the customer behave. Like David was saying, a customer could misbehave or rude to you for any given reason. Sometimes it's specifically because of the service you deliver they're unhappy with. Sometimes it's because of something that's going on in their own personal life. So because of that, we don't always know exactly why somebody's being rude or why they're behaving in an erratic manner. The only thing we have control over is how we respond to them. Eric always said, between the time when something happened and how you respond to whatever it is that happened, there's time for you to think, and how you respond is going to dictate the outcome. So to me, going along what David was saying, treat them the same way you would normally treat them, and then watch what happens after. Now, if you treat the customer with utmost kindness, you do your service the way you're supposed to, and they continue to behave in a rude manner, even afterward or multiple occasions, then you might want to maybe figure out if that's even a customer for you. But the first time it happens, or even the second time, I think you should still continue to deliver the top quality service that you were meant to deliver. Because multiple times I've had customers apologize to me for the way they behave. I've had customers apologize to my staff for the way they behave. Simply, they're having a bad day, or they have something going on, a misunderstanding happened, and they just went off. But if we continue to deliver top quality service, they usually come back around. And the ones that don't, those are not your customers. That's when you can decide whether you want to continue working with that person or not. But just for one time, or even if it's a second time, I usually continue to do my best and then watch if their behavior change. For the most time, I've had customers be rude to us. They usually apologize after, because we continue to give them the top quality service, and then afterward they feel bad and apologize for the way they behave. So that would be my take on it. Follow your company's policy. You do not change because the customer changed or because the customer is behaving a certain way. I would say still deliver the top-notch service. Now, let's say you're going to the customer's house a first time, they behave very rude. A second time, they're rude. A third time, they're rude, and you're out here delivering top quality service. I think by the third time, you have a decision to make if that's a customer you want to work with or not. You can't make everybody happy, but the few customers that were upset with us for whatever the reason is, I would say 99% of them usually come back and apologize. And that's because we take it very serious. We make sure our service stays at the highest standard, and I think it works.
It was David. He started us off, and one line that he really said that I always try and live by, even though it can be hard, it's actually not as easy as people might think, to kill them with kindness. Like, when people know that when your emotions are showing, right, and people know how you feel about something, whether it's angry, happy, sad, that gives more leverage for them to continue to be that way. And I try and say that to people sometimes too, when they let something get under their skin, including myself. I say, the more somebody knows that you are upset or hurt or angry, that's going to give them more power over you, and that's going to affect you more than how you're going to respond. It all goes hand in hand. So when you are being kind and not reciprocating the same energy to somebody, whether that's a customer, on the phone, or a customer in the field, or just, talking with a colleague or talking with an employee or whoever it is, personally, professionally, when you are giving that same energy, like you are almost adding fuel to the fire, right? So that's my MO in life. I try and just be as happy and as optimistic and kind as I can to somebody when they are not giving me the same energy, because then I'm hoping it can I can rub that off on them and kind of de-escalate the situation a little bit. I really loved when you said that, because that was going to be what I said. So I'm just going to second that. And Ash, you said something too that was like, these one-liners, guys, are gold. Okay. People who communicate need to at least try and be good communicators, right? Like if you have a customer service rep who might struggle with communication, or doesn't follow good communication practices, or has a hard time listening or understanding people, maybe that's not the position for them, so having that good line of communication, having people who are going to at least try, not be perfect at it or be 100% be the best that they are at it, but just try to be good active listeners and communicators, I think goes a really long way in de-escalating heated customer service situations. Ryan, you said customer service is the key to quality service. It sets you apart and can make or break you. I was just yes, that is so true. And Evans even just said it too, just listening to Evans, somebody's behavior or a customer who is frustrated should not deter the service that you provide. And that does set a company apart, whether it's in pest control or retail or, whatever the industry is that you're working in. Service should always remain on a 10, as best as it can be, regardless of the customer service. Now, I think there is a fine line between receiving treatment from a person that is obviously, if it's rude or if it's disrespectful or inappropriate, or obviously there's that line, right? You're not just going to sit there and let someone scream at you and call you all these bad, crazy names and just sit there and with a smile on your face. That is obviously not acceptable in my opinion. Alex, on to you. You said everything you do represents who you are. If that is not a truer life statement to go by and a motto to live by, I don't know what is. Going beyond customer service, right? Every single thing you do, and it's hard. I'm not saying that this is an easy thing to figure out, because I still haven't figured it out completely. And I think it's who you are presenting yourself to be. Making those choices wisely is very important. Guys, everybody pretty much hit it on the head, so I don't want to reinvent the wheel here, but I do want to say the most important impressions are the first and the last ones that we make on somebody. So mic drop, that's it. The most important impressions are the first and the last ones. I think customer service is all about making impressions, it's about making an impression on your service, on your staff, on your company, on your values. It's about impressions. So I think you can either make a great first impression and a first last impression, say the customer moves or whatever, they don't need the service anymore or something. Just because of that reason doesn't mean that there needs to be any type of poor customer service, So that's my answer. The most important impressions are the first and last ones.
I spent a lot of time in my career so far learning and teaching about customer service, because I think it truly is an integral part of any business, any growth, any strategy, anything that you're going to want to accomplish in a professional realm. You need to have top tier customer service. So maybe that kind of answers the question of how important I think it is. But what I went ahead and did is kind of compiled a list of maybe some pro tips about customer service that I want to share with you guys, and maybe a few stories along the way that will probably help. So first off, customer service is a foundational and fundamental part of any interaction you have with your customers, regardless of what role you have in the company or department you work in. So maybe you're a CSR or a technician, or maybe you're a manager or the CEO, or maybe you own the company. If you have bad customer service skills, that will bleed into the work that you do. It doesn't matter if you're part of the customer service department or not. Customer service is in every single department. If you don't have those skills, you're going to run into problems with your customers. Thing number 2, you need to decide ahead of time what standards you have for how you are going to allow other people to treat you and your team, and how you are going to allow you and your team to treat other people. If your standards vary depending on how you're being treated, they aren't standards. They're just reactions. Now, Evans actually mentioned this in his Marco Polo, and he was talking about a quote, which is one of my favorites by Viktor Frankl, and it goes like this: between stimulus and response, there is a space, and that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Man, how powerful is that? there was a jungle, and there were these two explorers. And one of the explorers was a wiser, more experienced, older gentleman. And the other explorer was a younger, more inexperienced, younger gentleman. And they were making their way through this jungle, and the sun is setting behind the trees, and it's getting dark. And the wiser gentleman says, you know what, let's go ahead and camp for the night, and we'll build a fire, and we'll put down our gear, and this is where we're going to stay. So they're sitting down, the sun has gone down, it's nice and dark, and the younger explorer is sitting by the fire. And all of a sudden, a snake from the tree above them falls onto the rocks that are surrounding the fire and starts to burn, and it starts to writhe in pain. And immediately, the older, wiser explorer gets up and goes and reaches his hand out to pick up the snake. He picks it up, and the snake turns back around and tries to bite him. And so he lets it go, and it falls right back on the rocks and starts to burn and starts to writhe in pain. And then he immediately turns around looking for a stick or something that he can use to pick up the snake. And he finds a stick and he brings it back over. And the younger, less experienced explorer says, I don't understand what you're doing. That snake just tried to bite you. Why not let the thing burn? And the older explorer picks up the snake with the stick, and as he's moving it to another area where it's safe, he says, you know, it's in the nature of the snake to respond in this way. It's scared, it's aggressive, it doesn't know what's going to happen, and it thinks that I'm a predator. So it's going to try to bite me. That's in its nature. However, it's in my nature to help. And it doesn't matter that the snake doesn't like me. I'm going to help anyway. And he picks it up and he moves it and he drops it off, and the snake slithers away and lives on for another day. That story is one of my favorites because I think it really highlights this last point that I want to make. Don't allow someone else's nature, character, or current attitude change who you are. Decide who you are and how you're going to show it for other people regardless of the situation. That will set you, your customer service, and your relationships apart and give you a distinct advantage in any area that involves communication with other people.
Love, love, love this topic and everybody's answers. Literally, I even wrote this in my notes. I could copy and paste Evan's answers, like word for word. He hit the nail on the spot for me. I mean, I think we can all agree this is so important. I mean, everybody has really given great examples on their take on why customer service has, helped make their business thrive or gone the extra mile for a customer and how it sets you apart. And I'm so glad that we all agree. And that just shows why we are all a part of great businesses that do succeed. And I think it's because we all understand the importance of customer service. That's almost like your bloodline a little bit. And what I was thinking, and I think Amanda and Alex can agree from, their perspective of their industry work, is that like your brand is so important. And like Evan said, and Ryan said too, is like word of mouth is so vital. If it goes around that you've got bad customer service, I mean, it's going to get around quick. Everybody's going to know. They're going to talk about it. They're going to leave bad reviews. It is just going to go in a downward spiral. And it's going to be hard to get back from that and make your brand, have that, good look of, oh no, we are good and we are great customer service providers. And, a lot of it is, in my opinion, service industry providers, we're kind of easy targets. It's not like everybody knows the process of pest control. Like when I tell people that a rat can fit in a hole the size of your thumb, they're like, really? And I'm like, a mouse the size of your pinky? They're like, really? And I'm like, yes. And it's not just going to happen overnight. Like David was saying, setting that expectation and giving them the knowledge that we have to let them understand what's going to happen, that's really going to help you get out of some of those miscommunications with those customers and kind of dial down some explosions that definitely can happen. Part of this question is, what do you do with the worst of the worst? Like David said, kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness, especially down here. I like to, Virginia, I'm in Southern Virginia. That is the South to me because we say y'all. Gotta kill them with that Southern hospitality. Like I said, that our brand is more important than us trying to change a customer's opinion. And not everybody is gonna, have the same opinion. So something that, bothers one person, they may not bother the other. There is a point where, you can just say, hey, Mrs. So-and-so, I just don't think that our views align and we just might not be the best company for you moving forward. Firing a customer, it's hard, but sometimes it's necessary. It just doesn't mesh all the time, and that's okay. That's totally fine. But making sure that you guys stay true to who you are and know that what your values are as a company, and know that your customer service, if you want to be known for top tier customer service, then hey, you better be giving it to everybody, okay? Your brand is super important, and how you give off your company to the public is, your employees. So even I was hiring a new technician recently, and I had a lot of people that didn't have a lot of experience. And when they came in, one of their top questions was, do I need experience to be in this industry? And what I tell them all the time is, no, you don't need to have experience to be in pest control. We can teach you how to be a good technician. I just can't teach you how to be a good person. So making sure that our morals and our values align is very important to my business when we're going through the hiring process, because we need to make sure that they're going to give our type of customer service top tier.
You guys, one thing I love about Pest Talks is that we all care about our customers. We care about people. We have empathy. We have compassion. Why would we be in this group if we didn't? It wouldn't work out, because Pest Talks requires a lot of empathy and compassion to be extended between all of us, because we're owners, we're working at companies, we are busy, we have families, we have a lot on our plate. Okay, so yeah, customer service is the most important thing to get going with pest control. When you're a new business starting out in a very busy market, in a very difficult market that California can be, with a lot of rules and regulations, you're at the beckoning of what you're able to do legally, and also what's best for the environment and people who are considered environmentalists. Because, if I'm just servicing you from a perspective of, okay, you want me to get rid of the rats, there's some things to consider here. Here are the options on how I can get rid of rats. Let me explain why. I know you may not want rodenticide. I know you may not want bait stations. I know you may not want any rats to be, killed in this process. Let me explain to you what's happening based on the activity that you have, because I'm not treating your rodent situation of rats like everybody else's situation. Let's talk about your unique situation and what you're dealing with. So that's an example of customer service. I got to have the patience to take the time to explain the problem that they're having and why we're recommending what we're recommending. That's the get going's way. When people call for help, sometimes we're just giving them advice over the phone. We're giving them as much help as we can before we even get there. I may not need to come to your home at all. I don't need to take your money. I don't need to charge you just to charge you. If I can help you over the phone, if I can give you some education that can be free 99, I'd rather do that. That's customer service. That's not about just taking your money and taking advantage of the situation. That's actually customer service, and leading with customer service is the get going's way. Are some people difficult to serve? Yes. How many times have you seen a sign in a restaurant or a store that says, we have the right to refuse service? I think in our industry, there's an expectation in many service industries that we're just supposed to tolerate whatever kind of client or customer that's in front of us. No matter what they do, we're just supposed to take it because I'm servicing you. I'm providing a service for you. So I'm supposed to do what you say, the way you want it, and that's just it. There's levels to that. I am supposed to service you with my expertise, with my license in pest control, but you also have to allow me to service you. So if you're doing anything that's getting in the way of me providing the service that I know you need, not what you think you need, but what I know you need, then I may not be the best company for you. And we are comfortable with stepping away from a situation and saying, you know what, I hear you, and I think maybe you need a different company. Because one, you have to be willing to listen. folks that I don't want to say are hard of hearing, but I would say people that just aren't good listeners or just don't have the patience to listen and just don't want to hear about it and just want you to take care of a problem that involves their participation and teamwork, they're going to be difficult to service. They're going to be difficult to please. So I think that, and a lot of you have said it already, I want to provide the best customer service no matter how you treat me, because you could be having a bad day, because this may not be the best representative of who you are, the best representation of who you are in that moment that you're talking to me. The pest that's bothering you, as well as other things, could be where the energy you're giving me is coming from. It's not personal. You don't know me from a can of paint. You just know that I'm someone that can take care of your issue, whether someone referred you to me or you just Googled me or you went on TikTok and you found Get Going's Pest Control. So it's not personal when we get energy that is rude or just, but at the same time, if you're super disrespectful, I have the right not to service you. But I can do that with grace and empathy and understanding. I don't have to do it rudely. We have definitely had some situations where we had to cancel service with people based on how they treated us. And it seems like when we as a company have to be the ones canceling a service, we're doing it and they're not firing us. The person may disagree on how we got here. They may feel like, well, you're not doing your job. But if customer service is the most important thing to us as a company, that's our reputation, our kindness, our compassion, our expertise, our knowledge, wanting to educate, wanting to help, wanting to solve your problem and not band-aid it, not wanting to take advantage of you financially in any kind of way. I want to give you as much free information as I can because I genuinely don't want you to have this issue. I have a nonprofit that does help people who can't afford pest control. So I already have a place for people who can't afford it to go to. So if I'm providing all of that with the right posture, and even if you don't appreciate it, but you, outside of your unappreciation, you're rude, you're aggressive, you're disrespectful, and I have to cancel your service, there had to be a lot of things that got us there. There had to be a buildup or something, or maybe it's just out the gate. I don't know, but we've definitely had to let some people go, and it's usually in a situation where they probably had a lot of people other than us let them go. I remember recently there was a client that had experienced the fires that we had out here and had been out of their home for quite some time. And so a lot of people whose homes did not necessarily burn down, they've been abandoned, they've been empty. Rodents, now they're dealing with rodents. And they love rodents. And Ryan does too. Ryan wants a pet rat. They're so intelligent. But the rodents that are out there on the street that are invading and infesting, those aren't the ones you can have as pets. Now, depending on the level of infestation, I can understand if people don't want them harmed. But at some point, if we have to, exterminate an infestation of rats, how we do it and how we go about it will be different pricing. Because if I'm not using poison safely, rodenticides safely, where it's not harming anyone other than rats, it's not targeting any species other than rats. If you won't allow that, okay, there's other ways. We can trap them, we can catch them. Okay, it's just gonna cost more. It's gonna require me to be here more. And that's okay, if that's what you want. And the stress of what this client was dealing with outside of the rodents caused them to be a little snippy, a little over the top. But you know what? We still were kind. We still were gracious. And she ended up kind of what some of you guys have already said. And I'm saying, hey, I'm sorry if I'm coming off a little. And I said, it's okay. I understand. I completely understand. This isn't a fun problem to deal with. And we like rats too. But the situation that you're in requires the next step above DIY. It's requiring us. And we know their entomology. that's our job. That's our license. That's our expertise. So we haven't always had that experience. I mean, we've had people who just were completely, you know, disrespectful and wanted to do things their way instead of the way it needs to be done, not trusting, not listening. And there's those situations too. But again, customer service is important. I don't care if you're rude or not. I'm still going to be me. You're not going to dictate my kindness. You're not going to dictate any of my professionalism. But that came with time. That came with maturity. That came with owning a company. I mean, I can think of jobs I might have had when I was younger. It's like, well, I don't own it. And if somebody's rude to me, then so what? But I probably would get fired with that mindset, maybe, depending on my boss or my immediate manager. But I think it's important to still extend customer service no matter what, because many a times you're just catching someone in a moment or in a season of them not being their best self. But if they're always like that, then you gonna fire them sooner than later. But we can't do anything about those kinds of people. You know, we continue to provide the service that we would want. And that's what I love about our industry is we truly desire to take care of your issue. And with all of the environmentalism that's rising and the concern of, you know, other animals and those, we care about those things too. That's a part of our customer service, is to care about those things and to care about your health and your safety. It's all in one. It's not one or the other. Customer service is including that because our industry is about protecting public health.
As the owner of a company that's been open 24 years, I would say simply it is not only the bloodline of a business, but also it is the backbone of a company. In a world today, in all industry, I believe that the art of customer service is missing. And I think that's from all industry, from fast food, medical industry, service industry, educational system. People have forgot how to treat other people, how people have forgot how to treat other people how they want to be treated. And so it's extremely important in everything that we do as a company. And I think that everything that any company does, I think you can look at the downfall of what started the downfall of some companies. Deep down in there somewhere, you're going to find a lack of customer service, maybe rude people, maybe unprofessionalism. There's a full gamut and a full spectrum of issues that can arise from bad customer service. And I think it can drastically hurt a company. When I show up to a customer for a consultation, no matter if it is a multi-millionaire or if it is public housing and everything in between, I believe every person should be treated exactly the same. That person that is in the $10 million home, they deserve the same level of courtesy, the same professionalism, the same treatment that somebody that's really struggling, that's maybe down on their luck. So yes, and even if someone is rude, they still deserve top tier service. Isn't that the definition of integrity? Doing that which is right, even when maybe nobody's watching, and maybe when people are even treating you unfairly. Let me challenge you. Be the thermostat in the room, not the thermometer. A thermometer reacts to the temperature, but a thermostat sets the temperature. If a customer is elevated, maybe some high anxiety, which is very common in our industry. You know, listen, if someone has bed bugs, roaches, rats, mice, their anxiety level is probably pretty high. I believe that a pest control professional, when they show up on the scene, should be the thermostat and be able to lower the temperature, lower the anxiety, lower their sense of hurt possibly, and give them some real satisfaction that once we've left there, they should feel a little better. No, the problem hasn't gone away. It's probably going to linger around a couple weeks, maybe a couple months possibly. However, each time we come, and if we are truly the thermostat in the room, we will be able to lower that temperature, lower their anxiety a little each time. And eventually, I do believe those that were maybe a little rude will come around and apologize. In my professional career, I've had people treat me very poorly. However, I've treated them very kind. Maybe didn't want to at times. However, I've treated them very kind. And over the course of the treatment, every one of them has come back and said, you know, I'm really sorry from the way we started our relationship. Or I'm sorry for the way I chatted with your office staff. I don't want to be reactionary. I want to control that. As a true professional, we have the ability, because we are the experts, we are the skilled people that are there to solve the problem. And so the worst of the worst, yeah, sometimes it gets hard and sometimes it gets rough. If it gets too rough, and if someone is very disrespectful, most respectful. I have no problem canceling a customer. I had a situation very recently, a large customer of mine who didn't take an issue as serious as what I expected. What had happened, we were doing some routine services, and one of my technicians, his life was threatened by a tenant. And the landlord didn't seem to take it very serious. I believe we live in a country today and the temperature's a little hot. It's a little elevated. And when someone threatens someone's life, that's to be taken pretty serious. And I simply had a conversation with the gentleman. He did not think it was that serious, tried to really kind of make some excuses for it. And we discontinued doing business together. He didn't like it. I didn't like it. But safety, professionalism, integrity, doing the right thing, it means something. Now, it may not mean something to everybody. As I said, there are large companies to small companies have lost the art of customer service, and it is an art. And sometimes you got to walk away. We have to agree to disagree. Sometimes we have to agree to walk away because maybe I'm not the best fit for, and my policies and procedures maybe aren't the best for that business and that client. And that's okay. We have to be professional enough and know ourselves enough to be the thermostat. Provide the great customer service that we know we can provide, regardless of income level, socioeconomic status, race, religion, creed, you name it, whatever the demographic you want to put there. Every person deserves to be treated kindly, to receive 5-star service every time, all the time. I tell my employees, if it's not 5-star service, we didn't do it right, we need to redo it. That's because people deserve to be treated right. They deserve the best.